Welcome to this exciting new course about how to create your own website without any coding and without hiring any freelancers. You're going to be able to create your own website by 100% using artificial intelligence, and you're going to be able to have a website within 1 or 2 hours. Literally the same day you get this course, enroll and take this course, click by click, line by line, step by step. I'm going to show you from A to Z how to, from absolute zero, get a working live, not a test website, a live website in under 1 hour. Of course, over the long term, you will have to make some edits, so you will have to spend more time on your website, but you will be able to launch a really nice website really quickly and much cheaper, because if you had to hire a freelancer, it would cost you a couple of $100s at least, and a couple of weeks at least of waiting. And if they're good, maybe a few days. But what if you wanted some revisions? That would take a couple of days extra revision. This way, every revision is like a couple of minutes, and the entire website is under 1 hour. So we're going to use Replit, which is one of the leading AI no-code software builders. And because it's software builder, this doesn't have to be limited to only a website. With Replit that you're going to learn in this course, you're going to be able to create mobile apps, software AI-based agents that just do work for you, and many other kinds of software. So if you want to launch some kind of a software as a service business, Replit today is the way to do it. So welcome to the course, and let's begin. Let's define the term vibe coding, because it might seem like a silly term, like, hey, the vibes are cool, but this is a tidal wave that's sweeping the coding world, and it's going to be one of the most important terms in developing businesses, startups, for the foreseeable future. So where does this funny term come from? It comes from Andrej Karpathy. He is a thought leader in the AI space. He used to work for OpenAI, which created ChatGPT. And he tweeted something early on that read something like, it's where you can give into the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget that code even exists, which really sounds pretty confusing. This is a smaller part of a larger quote, but think about it. Give into the vibes of what you want to make. Forget code exists and forget that limitations exist. Because if you were traditionally programming and you were told, hey, make this feature, you would have a headache, because you'd be like, well, to make this feature, I have to learn this library and this library and this API, and it's going to take me a couple of days to figure it out. I have to read a bunch of incredibly, horrifically boring documentation, which is a snooze fest. I'm going to take a million breaks, overeat on snacks, because it's just going to be so boring, and it's going to be miserable and stressful for the next 2 days. I'll get it. I'll make it. But that's my life for the next 2 days if I have to create a totally new feature. And of course, those vibes are not so good. Or as my daughter would say, yucky. But the amazing thing about being an engineer is that you could make anything. And so here, we are going to make AI create everything for us, so we only have to worry about what we can dream up. Because vibe coding is actually the opposite of coding. It's not coding at all. It's the engineer, instead of coding, now they're just telling AI in natural language, in my case English, what code and features to create. Like, hey, make me a website, make me an app, make me whatever I want. And very importantly, this gives you the ability to prototype just about anything. Not a fully completed product, but prototype in 1 hour and begin getting feedback on it. Begin showing it to potential clients, your boss. That's unprecedented. If you wanted to launch a website before, sure, if you're fast, you can do WordPress, but you could not make a mobile app. You could not make other original software. It would take you days and days. And the revolution here is manifold, because yes, it's way faster, meaning it's affordable and more efficient, but it democratizes web development, because there's no longer a need to hire web developers or learning to code. No offense to web developers. I used to be a software engineer myself, but the revolution here is that any of the 7 billion people in the world now can create businesses and products without big hurdles. And generally speaking, the way vibe coding works is you have a browser-based development environment where you can tell it what to do, and it actually makes it easier to collaborate if you have a team. It also removes complex configurations that used to be there in software engineering environments. That was another huge headache. I used to hate that so much. Like something wouldn't work and you would be like, why is it not working? And it's like some syntax error or somewhere in the configuration, and it would take you like half a day to figure out what it was, and just terrible experience that you no longer have to deal with. And of course, there's a lot more to say about vibe coding. Because it's AI, it's getting infinitely more complex and sophisticated day by day. But because this term is going to be thrown around all the time from now on, it's going to just balloon in how much it gets thrown around. It was incredibly important to define what it is and set the context so that you will understand whenever it comes up. With this video, let's begin exploring Replit. When I go to the homepage, it's very clever in how it presents itself, because what it looks like here is a prompt. It's an example of a really good AI prompt to make software. And that's what we're going to do with Replit. It enables us to make different kinds of software. There are some limitations that we'll talk about. The limitations are usually in the form of API limitations, third-party limitations. Like, for example, if Replit doesn't have access to some third-party data or third-party software, it just cannot use that third-party software. So if your software that you wanted to make depends on that third party, Replit wouldn't be able to do it. But in most other cases, when it's not dependent on a third party, Replit can do this. Replit can do a lot for you. And before we get started, let me walk you through the pricing so that you understand how to think about this software. You do get a forever free plan. The problem is it's only for exploring Replit to see how it really feels and looks like. So most people on day one, they're going to get the free plan. In fact, when I started playing around with it, even though I had all the intentions to pay in the end, I was pretty sure I was going to end up paying because I needed more robust functionality. I still sign up for free just to see. So in the beginning, everybody signs up for the free plan. You get to play around with it. It's great. Ultimately, most single-person entrepreneurs end up using the Replit core. $20 a month if it's billed annually. If it's not billed annually, it's a little more per month. I actually pay $25 per month because I have the choice of just paying monthly, which probably I'm going to end up just getting a whole year's subscription. And so it will end up being $20 a month for me as well. And if you have a team, like if you want a freelancer or two, or an employee at your company, or multiple employees at your company to in parallel be making some software for you, then the Teams plan is also really cheap. Like this pricing for the amazing things that this software does, I feel like it could be 10 times more and people still wouldn't bat an eye because it just does so much for you. And of course, if you are part of some enterprise, they have enterprise packages for you, but most people will settle on just $20 a month. Now keep that $20 a month in perspective, because I want to show you how much you actually save. So let's say you want to build a WordPress website, something pretty basic. To get a WordPress website, if you don't go through Replit, if you go through something like Fiverr, Fiverr, which is a freelancing site, generally speaking, it's going to cost you some headaches, some hiring and firing of freelancers, and around maybe $200 to create a full launch of your WordPress website. Relatively basic website, but good looking professional one. You should probably be fine with that. You can get a free domain name, you can pay for a domain name, but it's $200 of labor approximately. And if you need to make any edits, it's additional little bit of labor here and there. So right away, you can see that this saves you a tremendous amount. Now, Replit does not actually build WordPress websites because it doesn't have access to the WordPress backend, but it can build equivalent websites for essentially 10 times cheaper and probably 10 times less headaches as well. Because now you no longer have to hire any software developers or web developers. So what you would do to join is either sign up for free or join Replit Core. You can sign up for free. By the way, if you'd like to, whenever anyone joins Replit, they get a referral link. It's in my account here, so you can see under my account area, I went under referrals and they have this thing. I can copy the link. And if you sign up through my link, I'll get an extra $10, which is not much, but it's nice and I'll appreciate it. It's totally optional. You can just go to Replit directly, but it would be nice for me to get the extra $10. Why not? So what you would do is instead of typing in Replit, you would just paste this URL, and I'll have this URL in the resources of this video. So you can go to the resources of this video, click this URL. This is only if you want to. You don't really have to. You don't get any benefit from actually using this link. It's just to help me. In any case, if you go through this link, you see it says here you're signing up using Alex Kinedinek's referral link. Once you subscribe to Replit Core, that means if you ever pay, you'll both, I didn't actually realize, you'll both get an extra $10 of credits. Ooh, so now actually you have a lot of incentive to do this. I didn't read this originally the right way. I thought it's just $10 for me, but actually it's nice that it's $10 for you as well. In any case, so what you would do is, in my case, I used Google and I just went through the sign up steps, create an account. This is a test account. I already actually made an account. So you would just click on continue. Here you would fill out some details about you. My name, it's for work, continue. Then what kind of work would you do? I think I'm a teacher, and I'm a teacher. Position of the company, let's say executive. Maybe team member, individual competitor, since the actual Alex that was my main account was already that. Click continue. Then you can choose whichever option you want. You can start for free. That's the most natural thing to start with, is the free account. So let's say you would start with the starter pack. In your case, you would click on the starter pack. In case you don't click on the starter pack, what you would see if you continue with Core, it will just ask you to pay. So you fill out your credit card details, which we're not going to do here, obviously. And this is for the annual subscription, but you can also choose monthly. So I'm going to back out of this. And so instead of signing up for the paid plan, which I already have with another account, here I signed up with a free plan, and it gave me a little bit of a tutorial of how to use Replit, and it brought me to this kind of a screen where I just type in input. So essentially you are ready to use Replit. So in the next video, I'm going to show you some of the basics for how to use Replit, because in order to use it, you have to understand a little bit about prompt engineering and also a little bit about how it works and its limitations. So let's continue with those topics in the next video. In this video, let's begin taking the first steps in using Replit. So when you come to Replit, you might have a screen like this and it will say, hey, what do you want to make? And let's say you want to make a basic website for an agency. Let's say you have an SEO marketing agency and you want to create your basic website. So let's do that. Here's what I'm going to say. This is my prompt. In a little bit, we're going to go over more formal prompt engineering, but here's a basic prompt. Create a basic website with a blog for an SEO marketing agency that offers content creation and keyword research. That's the services. It's based in London, UK, and the agency is named, I gave it a funny name, SEO Bro. I thought it would rhyme a little better, SEO Bro, something like that. You can also give it some specific things like make sure to create a services section. You can also give it some specific instructions like do SEO optimization for the homepage. For the keyword, SEO keyword research. And I'll click start building. It takes a little while because it has to create all the code actually from scratch. And before that, it has to understand what you want. So at first it processes your query, and it often comes up with questions to make sure that it's on the right track. So here's your SEO Bro marketing. Initial version is going to be a professional SEO agency website. Yes, plan approval. So it shows that it did the initial planning. For later, would you like any of these additional features, like add a blog post management system? That would be kind of like mimicking WordPress, because WordPress allows you to create a blog. So yes, that would be great. Implement a contact form with lead capture for sure. That would be amazing. Add a case study and portfolio section. That would be also amazing. These are things I didn't actually think of, but these are great to have. Integrate Google Analytics and Search Console. No, because to integrate Google Analytics and Search Console, you may want to do this later because we don't have this website set up. So there can be no Google Analytics or Search Console. It's not a real website. So for now, we're not going to check this. But if you are creating a real website for your business, you definitely want to have this. But for now, just because it's an example and we are not really going to launch this, we're not going to have that checked. So with that, let's click on Approve, Plan, and Start. As you can see, it starts working. And what's really cool is that it tells you kind of what it's doing on the left side. And on the right side, it's actually doing the work. Usually I would just let the video run and then I would cut out the time that I had to wait and tell you, oh, it took 2 minutes and I had to wait, and I cut that time. But here it's really curious how it actually builds the website. Look, it literally just builds it element by element. SEO, bro, you have a little bit of a logo, you have the title, you have all this kind of stuff, you have the navigation on top. It's still building it out. If I'm going to scroll, I can't scroll anymore, and then a second later I am able to scroll. So it's literally creating it. These are the services that I told it about: SEO, keyword research, and content creation. You can have more services if you want, like link building or whatever else for SEO. Really cool. It actually already wrote some blog posts, the ultimate SEO guide. It's funny, I'm filming this in 2025, but it created a 2024 article. That's silly. Here's the customer reviews, which are, you'd have to plug in your actual customer reviews. These are fake, obviously, because there's no such business. And obviously data like this is something you can either ask it to remove or you can plug in your own, but essentially it's working on things. While it's still working on things, you can be curious and see if you can click on anything. At the moment, you can't really click on stuff. It's just building it. But it's actually on the left side showing you what it's doing. See this visual preview? It's giving you the visual preview right now. So it's just a preview. Nothing is clickable until it's done. So now, because you've seen how it's working, this does take a little while. So I will pause this video and cut it until Replit is done. And I'll just fast forward to that moment. Usually for a site like this, it might take an extra 3 minutes to wait or something. So I'll fast forward this video until those 3 minutes or so are done, and I'll see you then, and I'll tell you how it went, and I'll show you. So in the end, it took a little longer, maybe 5 to 10 minutes or so, but we have on the right side a full-fledged website, and we can preview the website and navigate. For example, if I click on services, you see it goes to the services area, blog, goes to the blog area. I can click on the individual blog posts, and it actually has written the blog posts. Now, the blog posts are not great. This is a service not meant for blog post writing, although I'm sure if you ask it to write more elaborate, longer blog posts, if you specify it, it will write what you want. Now, there's the about page, the contact page, and it gives you a summary of what it did. Created a home page with a hero section. This is kind of the hero section is this kind of a big image. Services, blog preview, testimonials, about page, contact. There's a blog page with SEO focused article, individual blog post pages with proper formatting, contact form for service selection, professional London-based branding and messaging, and the SEO optimization with meta tags, structured data, and keyword targeting. So it's not only web development, but also a little bit of marketing that it already did, because it did some of the SEO work for this website. And as you can see in the headline, it's targeting SEO keyword research, so it optimized things really well. SEO keyword research, SEO strategy, it's optimizing for those keywords. And after you get a result like this, you can do a few things. You can ask it, hey, I don't like that. You see, it's kind of an infinite scroll. Everything is on one page. You can say, I don't like that. I want every link here to go to a separate page. You can ask it that, and it will rebuild the website. Or you might say, I want a different feature. Like, I don't like maybe section 3, change that. Or if you love the way it is and you say, oh, I want to launch this, you can launch this, and you can buy the domain name and get hosting all through Replit. And it will give you relatively competitive prices, relatively. Not the best possible prices, but still very reasonable. And I think that would make it attractive is that it's all in one place, because let's say you got a free domain name somewhere. Well, you have to configure the domain name forwarding and all this. It takes time. And because it takes time, that's money, right? You're spending your time configuring things that you don't want to be doing instead of actually building out your website and starting to build your business. So this saves you time. It doesn't give you the optimal prices necessarily, but due to the time savings, it does represent a cost savings, which for me, I would just do everything on Replit. So in the next video, before we get too deep into how to create websites and everything, let me show you how to do optimal prompt engineering so you know exactly how to direct Replit so that it gives you good results. Because as you can see, if this took me about 10 minutes, it's a relatively short time, but it's not a second or two like you're maybe used to ChatGPT. So you have to wait, and 10 minutes does take a lot of your time in your day. So you don't want to keep reprompting. So I'm going to show you how to give it ideal prompts so that you get as much correct from the very first prompt. So let's do that in the next video. With this video, let's begin our class project and use our class project to start creating a great Replit prompt. And then I'll be able to walk you through from the prompt how to create the entire website and get a domain and get hosting and make that website go live. And I'm able to do this because I'm actually working on a side project at the moment, and that project actually needs a website, because if I gave you a basic example, like a toy example that wouldn't go anywhere, then I wouldn't really get hosting for it. I wouldn't really get a domain name for it. So it wouldn't be a full example. But with this, I'm going to be able to walk you through a complete full example, A to Z, starting from the prompt, and literally walk you through every step so that you can follow it click by click for whatever your website needs to be. So here is my project. It's a side project. I'm in the process of launching my own cryptocurrency token. It so happens that cryptocurrency tokens almost always have an accompanying website. This particular cryptocurrency token is something that's going to have utility in the real world, and I'm targeting the creative community because all my life I've been creating things. I've been creating music as a hobby and a passion. I write poetry on my free time, and I create courses and videos. All I've been doing is creating. I've also been an author, so I deeply identify with the creative community, and I understand how hard it is for them. For example, if you want to write a book, well, you might have to go through a publisher, and that book publishing business is just broken. They take advantage of writers, and they give the writers an advance, which is a little payment up front, and it helps the writers, but they take so much of the writer's work. The long and short of it, if you go through a publisher, before you even publish your book, you'll owe at least 30% of your lifetime book earnings to your agent and your publisher, and that's even before the book is live. So what I'm working on is a way to use cryptocurrency to help creative people fund their project. And unlike the publishing industry or many other industries, I want the creators to be able to take at least 99.5% of all the money they're able to raise, and the very little extra just goes to transaction costs. So that's the context of the project. And actually, that's the very first thing we have to explain to Replit. So here, I'm going to take the template we used in the previous video, and I'm going to edit it to show you how it's going to look like for the Replit prompt. So here's the context that I have. I'm creating a website for a new cryptocurrency I'm launching on the Solana blockchain. Its ticker symbol will be SPRK, which stands for Spark. The purpose of this token, I should actually tell that. So here I improved it. Its ticker symbol will be SPRK, which stands for Spark. That's just so that it will kind of understand the branding ahead of time. The purpose of this token is to help creative people get funding for their projects, so I need a creator-friendly looking website. That's the context. Now the task. This is the most important part. The task is a little long. Let's read it together quickly. Create a bright and image-rich website aimed at creative people to feel at ease and trust the website. Use copywriting to explain to creators that they will be able to raise more money and keep more money than they earn when they raise through this token. That's a little confusing in the wording, actually. Also create a section of the website for the white paper. A white paper is something that cryptocurrencies usually have. It basically gains trust by explaining all the details of the cryptocurrency transparently, like all the tokenomics, economics, and all the details. So have a section for that and a section for current projects that will be funded. I want the website to also be able to promote projects that get funded through this website so that donors can find them on the website. That's the additional benefit of this cryptocurrency project, is that it will have a website where donors can find the projects to donate to. Now the desired result. While writing this, I also thought of a couple of other good things to add. So let me read them to you. Create a section for creative people that will explain to them how they can start, and create a section for donors to help them understand how to get involved. Almost create like a partition. So let me explain that. Here I have a little bit more clarity for the AI. I wrote create 2 big sections on the homepage, one for creators, one for donors. And below that, have the section showing the projects currently doing fundraising. So the more detail and the more features you want to specify, the more likely it's going to actually create exactly what you want. Now, desired result. Some of the desired result will overlap a little bit with the task. So here's an example. I want people to subscribe to my email newsletters. I want people to get onboarded whether they're creators or donors. I also want people just to invest in cryptocurrency just for the investment opportunity and show the ticker symbol and the price on the website. I can probably actually just put that last sentence into the task because those are kind of the features. Now, the next one is example of outcome. So what I want to do is find a great current cryptocurrency website so I can show how that would look like. So I'm just going to use the Sol website. So I'll say use the Sol cryptocurrency example, give it the URL, and I'll say just make it brighter and more fun and engaging. Then the tone, obviously we're not writing, but we'll change that to copywriting tone. That's the text that's going to be written on the website. We needed professional, polite, creator friendly. That's just because for me, I'm speaking to creators. Here's my prompt. Use a professional, polite, inspiring, and creator-friendly tone so they can see the big vision of the project and the financial benefits to themselves. Creativity level, we can keep it as it was, focus on accuracy instead of being creative. Audience, this is important because this particular audience, the artsy world, typically, pound for pound, are a little bit not crypto savvy. And many creative people that I talk to, they kind of have a skeptical sentiment like, I hate cryptocurrency, or why do I need this? Is this all fake? Is this a scam? They're very skeptical because I admit cryptocurrency can be very boring to learn. And because it's boring and things that aren't known, when we don't understand things, we typically are a little bit more afraid of it. So understanding that and understanding that this is the challenge that I'm going to have is to onboard people who are not early adopters. The audience is, potentially skeptical artsy people who are not necessarily early crypto adopters. So we need them to break the skepticism barrier. And for the format, actually, the previous prompt looked good. Use clear section headings, make it easy to read, and use visuals and graphs when you can, and highlight parts that you think will impress. That's pretty good. So this gives us most of our first prompt that we can copy into Replit. So now that we have our prompt, in the next video, let's actually put this into Replit and let's see what it comes up with. And after that, we'll be able to put this website live, get a domain name, all the next steps as well. So I'll see you for some of the next steps in the next video. In this video, let's take the prompt we made for Replit and actually have Replit make the website that we wanted. So in Replit, there's always this button on the top left, plus create app. When you click it, it actually gives you a screen like we already have. When it says app, it doesn't mean app. It means any software. App is just a term that it uses. So let's paste that prompt into here and let's see what it's going to create. So I'm literally going to just copy everything and paste. The only things I'll do is I'll have minimal edits. Like for example, these recommended optional, I'm going to take that out of the brackets, but I'll give it context. After I pressed context, then I pressed enter and it gave me a reply. I understand you're launching a cryptocurrency called Spark. Sounds like an exciting venture. Okay, let me create a comprehensive plan for your creative website. Then it gives me some things that it can do later, like integrate Solana wallet. That's just a specific thing for Solana. Add project submission portal for creatives. Yes, that's great. Implement community voting system. Maybe we don't need that yet. And then create a token staking and rewards dashboard. We do need that. Now I also want to give it some more background. So I'm just going to paste all the other things in my prompt and just take things out. All the things in the bracket, I will just take things out. Task would be left, desired result would be left, except the stuff in the brackets. So I'll just quickly edit all that and press enter. So once I edited all this to be clear to AI, I'm going to press enter here. Not this approve, plan, and start, but this so that it understands context, more of everything. I have all the elements of what I wanted to do. I could have pasted it all in the beginning. That was also fine. Like I could have pasted the entire prompt at first. Then as you can see, it thinks for a little bit and it gives me the same kind of a plan. This is what it's going to do: a bright, trust-focused website on the Spark cryptocurrency that serves creators and donors with a clear onboarding, live ticker, project showcases, newsletter subscription, etc. Later, integrate the ticker, implement donor dashboard. That's just features for later. So for now, I'm going to say approve, plan, and start. And I'm going to wait. As you can see, it's thinking on the bottom here on the left side, and it's working on the code on the right side. This is going to take 5 to 10 minutes, and I'll fast forward this video to whenever that's done. And it took about 5 to 7 minutes. I wasn't counting, but it created me this website. It's a version 1. You'll never have version 1 that is exactly how you wanted it. And there are some things that are not ideal here for me that I'm going to ask it to change, but it's already quite good. So let's read the summary of what it did. Here's what it did. I built a bright, trust-focused website for the Spark cryptocurrency that serves creators and donors. It has a modern design and vibrant Solana-inspired colors. See, that's from my example that I gave it. My job is going to be to find a website that more closely resembles something for artists, because this looks a little bit too officey, too 9-to-5 jobby, not exactly the vibe that I was going for, so I'll have to change that. Then it says it has a live price ticker somewhere here, although I'm not able to find it. Like, for example, there is some data here, but it's a little vague. But it has other features like the hero section with a clear value proposition. Let's see how clear it is. Spark your creative dreams. Okay, nice. The cryptocurrency designed to fund creative projects. I would want the content explaining everything to be in larger font. And these are all things where you would make a mental note for yourself and ask Replit to make those edits, because this version 1 is not what you're going to launch. This is just something that you look at and ask it to make changes. Compare that as an analogy to if you hired a freelancer. First of all, it would take a day, 2, 3, 4. If you hired a bad freelancer, 2 weeks. It would have already cost you $200 for this. Then if you wanted to make edits, it would take another 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and maybe more money, or you might have a limit of how many edits you might be able to ask of the developer, because they might say, well, at a certain point you have to pay more. Here, you don't have to pay more. You just have to keep asking for changes that you want. So in the next video, let's go through this detail by detail and ask it to improve certain aspects of this website until it's something that we love, that we can be happy with launching, so that then we can go on to the next steps of launching. So let's refine our website in the next video. In this video, I want to show you a little bit more about how to develop your website from scratch with Replit with absolutely no code. As you saw in the previous video, Replit can create a very good first draft, but with obvious mistakes. And even though you can do your best at creating a great prompt, you can almost guarantee that it will not create the exact thing you want from the first try. So the very next step is to give it directions for little adjustments so that you can get it closer to what you want. So instead of doing this all on the screen, because it's incredibly tedious, I'm going to just scroll on my prompts here on the left side to show you what I did. Because if you remember, when I scroll all the way up, look how much scrolling I had to do. This was actually a pretty painstaking process. So I'll just kind of skip around here because it will take forever for me to see how long the conversation I had with Replit was. So what I did is I gave it this big prompt and it gave me this initial website. And by the way, whenever you work on this, it creates versions. So if there was some version that you liked, you can roll back to some version. But I want to show you a preview just to see the previous version. On the right side, what you see is the current version that I have. Here, the preview is ready. So I'm going to click on View Preview. It opens the preview in another tab. And as you can see, even though it's for creative people, you see this stock image is kind of like for tech startups. It's not really exactly what I want. And there are some errors like this is not readable. This part of the website is buggy and ugly, because how can you make such an ugly design? There's text here, but it's obviously chosen in the wrong colors because the colors blend into each other. Then there's like, what is this mechanic guy doing? Why is this picture? So AI was really bad at choosing appropriate pictures, and really for many of these sections, it's a little bit too early for it. So instead of that, I ended up having this kind of a more clean design. At least I think so. The look and feel feels a little bit closer to what creative people might like. So let's go through this step by step. So literally I told it as the first thing, I thought that the images and look and feel was too corporate. Can you change it to something more creative? Maybe instead of a stock image with an office, use something more inspiring for a bohemian person. And it did that. I'll load this preview. So this was just instructions to change this image. So after you get your website, as long as the architecture of the website looks reasonable to you, what you would then do is go through every little piece, this text, the text on top, then the text on the bottom, the subtitle, then the image, then this next section, then this next section. And what you would do is direct it what to write. It's time consuming, but not nearly as time consuming as if it would be if you had to do this with a designer. And with a designer, it would also cost more money. And at some point, they might have to go and work with some other clients or just get tired and you'd have to take a break. So this is still easier. So let me show you this preview. So it gave me this kind of a bohemian paintbrushes thing, but I didn't love it. And actually I ended up going through a few iterations. Like I'll show you. Here I told it, not sure I want to focus on art specifically, too narrow. Then I said, then it gave me some options. I chose one of the options. Then it gave me another preview. I'll show you that one as well. Basically, a lot of the preview images just weren't good. So I'll show you the next preview image. So this was kind of time consuming. Like, why was this phone here? It doesn't make any sense for this project. As you can also see, there's a bug on this button, launch your project. Like, what's this button? Why do I have to mouse over? So all these little things are things that you should notice and tell Replit to fix. So I ended up just doing that. I ended up going through a few image iterations. I don't want to show you each iteration of images because it would just make this video very boring. But at some point, look, I said, are you experiencing a bug? Like I was telling it, choose an illustration, right? See, I said, use illustration in the hero image. And then it gave me not an illustration. I said, are you experiencing a bug? So I just went to some image website and found an image that I like and told it, I'm going to upload this image. You can use this attached file. And I told it, use that image. So the images you may have to choose for it, which is not a problem really. That's how I chose that image. That's the hero image. And then I started telling it to change every part of the website. You see, I told it, let's make the title just text and no subtitle. And then I tried that. And then I decided, oh, I'm going to redo my subtitle. So I changed the copywriting. Now it's Spark, the first cryptocurrency designed to fund creative projects. And then the subtitle is Fund Music, Books, Art Projects, Startup Ideas, and Online Projects. This is all I wrote. I just told it to upload it. So it's as though I'm a developer, but there is no code. So what I want to make you aware is that it's not like you're going to press one button and a website comes out and you're done, but it's more like you're going to press one button, a website comes out, then you go through this entire thing and you might think, choose your path. Like, I want a different text, and you tell it. Or you might want different words on these buttons. You tell it and it will do that. That way, it's almost like a give and go. You tell it to make a change, you approve the change or disapprove the change, then you go on to the next part of the website, then the next part of the website. And when you're happy with the homepage, then you go, okay, for creators, then for donors, then for projects. And once you, let's say, click on developers, and let's say so in the next video, let me walk you through a live demonstration of how to make a couple of changes. And with that, you'll become confident about how to make all the changes you need on your website so that we can move on to the next step of actually taking your website live. So we'll do a short live demonstration in the next video. Once you are ready to take the next step into launching your website, you don't just launch your actual website, you launch a test version. And that's in technical terms called a deployment. So what you would do is type into the prompt something like deploy, which I did, and Replit will give you a potential URL like Spark token. You see it gave me some options before like Spark fund Alex Kinedinik. The URL is going to look like this. Your project name replit.app. Okay, so in my case, I just wanted to make it easier. So Spark token, and I'm going to click on deploy now, and it's going to do a little work to actually deploy the website on this URL so that you can then go to this URL, test it out, like click one button, two buttons, send it to your friends. If all the testing passes, then you're ready for the next step. But very likely what you'll find are some bugs that you might want to fix, and then ask Replit to fix those bugs. Then you deploy those fixes on that deployment website again. Once you're happy with everything is tested, you are going to be ready for the next step. But this deployment step is the next step, and it's going to take a little bit of time to deploy everything. As you can see on the right side, as I'm talking, it's working. So I'm going to just fast forward to the moment when it's done working so I can show you what happened. And the deployment process took about 5 minutes. We already made the URL for this, sparktoken.replit.app. So I just went to that URL directly. And as you can see, the website is here. If you don't like something, tell Replit to change it, it will change it. But essentially, we have our test environment set up, so you can send it out to friends and family for testing, or yourself, you can test, and we'll go through the next step of launching our website in the next video. In this video, I'm going to outline the next steps in order to actually launch your website and have it go live. Step one is you have to purchase the domain on a domain name registrar. Any of them will do, like GoDaddy, Namecheap, whatever. And then we already have step two created, the deployment website. So after that, once you get your domain name, you'll have to take the step of connecting your custom domain name. So whatever domain name you buy from GoDaddy or whichever other place, you'll need to connect it to Replit so that whatever is showing up on your deployment website is actually going to show up on your actual URL, the live URL. After that, Replit will configure your SSL certificate for security, and you will essentially go live. So in the next video, let's look at how to get that domain name and how to set up this confusing step of adding your DNS records to point to Replit servers. So we'll do that in the next video. Now let's go through the process of buying your domain name and setting it up so that whatever you create in Replit actually renders when you go to your domain name, because the domain name, your brand.replit.app, that's not something that's meant for consumers to be seen or visitors of your website. That's for your testing purposes. So we need a real professional domain name. And of course, you have multiple options for getting a domain name. Now, just to give you some background, if you go to like a popular domain registrar and hosting service, like let's say Bluehost, you can get a free domain name and really cheap hosting. You see like $2.95 a month, get started. And you see on the left side, one of the things you get is free domain name for the first year. So you can get a free domain name with hosting, but this is for WordPress. A Replit site is not a WordPress website. And a Replit site is going to have slightly more expensive hosting. This is the price you pay for having a custom website and for being able to avoid hiring a developer entirely, because you're saving a lot of money on hiring a developer. And anytime you need to make a change, it's a no-code approach. You can just make any changes you want on your own. You never have to look at a line of code on your own. So you can have this. We're not going to do this route, okay? I just wanted to make you aware this is possible. The route we're going to take is we're going to buy a domain name on a service like GoDaddy. Now, let me tell you about GoDaddy. GoDaddy is a common domain registrar and a hosting service. It can help you with WordPress website hosting or other kinds of hosting your website. We are not going to host our website here. I've been a user of GoDaddy for something like 20 years. Many people don't like GoDaddy. I also don't love GoDaddy. I find that it's okay. It's just fine for buying domain names. It's maybe not the best place to buy it, but it's just fine in terms of you're not going to have headaches. You're not going to have problems with it. It's not going to be too clunky. But for hosting and designing your websites, that's where people get in trouble, because many people use the GoDaddy website builder and totally get stuck with an ugly website that they can't move off of. So we are not going to create our website with GoDaddy, obviously, because we're creating it with Replit. But we are going to get a domain name. We're not going to be able to get a domain name for free, but you can get some deals and discounts. In any case, whenever it's free, it's only free for the first year anyway. So what you can do on GoDaddy, if you just come to GoDaddy homepage, you can type in the URLs you want, like abc.com. and see if it's available. abc.com is not available. Somebody owns it, and they will charge you a broker fee of $99 to try to buy it, but it might be a much higher price. You can get abc.co, but you might not want a co as they show here. You can have like abc.store, social. It might make sense, but for most people, you need a .com domain name. So we'll stay with .com. And obviously, 3 or 4 letter domain names are mostly taken. So you want to have a domain name that's memorable, easy to write, easy to spell, catchy, rolls off your tongue, is brandable, all those things, but also is free. Because if I want a domain name like, my first option is Spark Token. So when I type sparktoken.com into here and I press enter, it's going to find Spark Token and tell me if it's available. Yeah, it's available, but you see it's a premium domain because Spark and token are English words, and token is kind of a premium type of word because, obviously token's money. It's related to cryptocurrency, there's a lot of demand in it. So $12,000 a year. Should I pay this? No way. You can probably get it cheaper somehow, but there's an interesting option that I'm actually honestly not familiar with, lease to own, but it's a horrible price. It's still $1,000, so it's not an option. You should never pay more than $10 or $20 a month for a domain name. Buying these premium domain names is a ripoff because all you have to do is, instead of saying Spark Token, you can say SPRK token.com, and it will be available. There it is. Great name, available, you can buy it. They even give you a deal. Now, you may not be satisfied with SPRK token. It's kind of an English word, but now it's cryptic looking. To demonstrate the fact that you don't need to buy premium domains, let's say you wanted to have Spark, all you would have to do is add one more syllable somewhere, like Sol. Sol is the Solana blockchain on which this token is going to be built on. So if I say Spark token Sol, it's going to be available for sure. I search, and there you go, it's available. You don't have to have Sol. You can also say Spark Creative Token, or you might even be able to get away with Spark Creative. I don't know if that's going to be available. Not available. But Spark Creative or Creative Spark Token, that would be nice and available. So the takeaway here is that you just need to add one more syllable in order to make a domain that's premium into a cheap one. In the future, if your project takes off and you have millions of dollars and you can spend a few thousand on the domain name, sure, you can get sparktoken.com and then redirect your current website to Spark Token. You can do that, but for new projects, it's obviously difficult. So here we have Spark Creative Token or Spark Token. I kind of like SPRK Token. We'll stay with a short one, and then I'm going to proceed to buy it. So I'll click this Don't Miss Out. So I'll get it for 3 years. The first year will be essentially free. You can just get it for 1 year. It will be cheaper, but not so much cheaper that it's fine. Let's say don't miss out. We'll click this button. It added it to the cart. There are some upsells here. We're going to skip those upsells. We'll say no thanks. Just to be sure, view your cart. For the 3-year duration, it's going to be $43. You see subtotal, $43. Then click continue to cart. Then they're going to upsell you things. You don't need any of the stuff. Full domain protection, no. None of the upsells here. Continue to cart. It should stay $43. For some reason, it's still added to full domain protection. You make sure you turn that off. There you go. You can pay with PayPal and you can complete purchase. Perfect. That domain name is mine. Now we have to configure the domain name. So you click continue. Then they offer you to publish a coming soon website. We don't need that because right away we're going to go and connect it to our Replit. So we'll say not now. Then you get taken to your dashboard. So congratulations, you have purchased your domain name. And in the next video, we are going to set up and configure your domain name, after which your website will be live. So we'll do that in the next video. So you go on the left side under domain, and in the DNS, you need to give it the right DNS servers. So you get that information from Replit. Now, in order to get the information you need from Replit, you go to the home dashboard screen of Replit. Under deployment, you'll see the deployments you've made. You click on that, and it will give you a little tutorial. Welcome to the workspace. This is where all the magic happens. Let's look around. Next, this is your agent that you talk to. On the left side is where you open all the additional AI tools and other tools. in Files. The Run button is to preview your application that you're creating, and you are done. So now you know. In this case, we need settings, because under settings, we need to find our name server or DNS records. It actually explains to us what to do. You see, get your DNS records. Replit will show you the name servers or specific DNS records. So that's what we need to find. Under domains, I'm going to enter a new domain. I'm going to connect the domain, enter my domain name, Spark token, next. And it gave me these instructions. Next, add the following records to your domain's DNS settings. So type A, hostname www, record. So that's what we're going to add. So under A, we're going to edit this, and we're going to put that IP address there, save. Then under hostname, www record, that's the hostname. We're going to copy that, and we're going to add that there also. And once we are done, we're going to click on link domain, and it's going to say verifying. By the way, let's get back to the GoDaddy screen. So now we're back on GoDaddy. I understand that this part of the process can be very confusing. So let me explain to you the good practices of what you should do. If you want your domain name to render, whether people are typing www, your domain name, or just yourdomainname.com, you want to make sure that you have here under A and name, one symbol is @ one is www, and for both of them you enter the same IP address that was given to you by Replit right here. I'll show you where. You see right here, www, that. But you should also have that other version of that too under this IP address. Then the second line, txt, www, and then this record, that's also there. You see I have txt, www, and this record that's also there. That's going to make sure that whether people go to sprktoken.com www, you see it renders already, or people go to just that domain name without the www, your domain name will register. Now you will notice that it says HTTPS not ready. This takes about 1 to 4 hours to get installed automatically after you get these settings right. So if you have that error message there, don't worry about it. If you have that error message there like 5 hours later, do worry about it. Then it's time for troubleshooting. But in the beginning, it's not a worrisome issue. Similarly, it's also not a worrisome issue if your URL does not immediately render after you set these settings, because these also can take 1 to 24 hours to propagate. Because as you can see here, this is a place where you can go and check your domain name servers, and you'll see that every hosting company has them across the world, and somewhere they might take a shorter amount of time, somewhere longer. You see there's a lot of green check marks, like they registered fine. The red crosses, that means not yet. This is under what's mydns.net. Enter your URL and then search and see, is it all ready? And you'll see you'll get check mark, check mark, check mark. In a couple of them, not ready, but within 24 hours, it should be ready. Again, if it isn't ready in 24 hours, then this is where you troubleshoot and go contact customer service of GoDaddy and basically see maybe you mistyped something, maybe there was an error in the settings you set. And if there is an error, it's usually here. You got to really verify that these are correct, that these settings, and that they really match the URLs and all the data that's given to you here. So this is the place to look to check whether something might have wrong. If there was a little typo, a little inconsistency, that might be a cause of the problems. But usually most people get this part of the process done just fine. Sometimes when you wait, it's a little worrisome, like, why is it not rendering 2 minutes later? Why is it not rendering 2 minutes later? I'm stressing out. But after some time, usually these things just resolve on their own. The SSL is going to get installed automatically by Replit after your DNS servers get configured. So it's like waiting after waiting after waiting. So take a break, come back. Likely you'll have positive and encouraging results. And then guess what? Your website is live, which is fantastic. So congratulations. One little troubleshooting note. You see under domains, ultimately I ended up having one type of URL that's without the www, just domainname.com. And then the other URL is with the www.domainname.com. you have to create both of these under your domains so that whatever people type, whether they just type sparktoken.com or www.sparktoken.com, if you have both of these, then your website will render for both of these. But if you don't have both of these versions, then your website won't render for both of these, which will look very, very buggy because a website should render for both options. And the way you do that is basically under domains, you can always click plus here, link a domain, and then add yours, and just make sure that whatever it gives you, you see if I click the little edit icon, whatever this is, you make sure you have that record in your GoDaddy or wherever you bought your domain. So for example, this a at this IP address, I have that a at that IP address. Then as you can see, I have a www, this IP address. That's from the other domain name. You see a www, that IP address. Same thing with the text value, text at that record, and then text www, that record. So I have text at that record here and text www, that record. Once you have this, it should work, and then automatically your website should render just fine. And quickly after that, Replit should also install your SSL for HTTPS. So you'll get that requirement taken care of by default, and your website should be ready to go. So definitely make sure you have these settings set, especially in case you wait a few hours and your website is just not rendering the way you thought it should. The first step to do is to look carefully at how accurately you recreated this data, this information, on whichever site you bought your domain name.